Hello, YouTube. I hope everything is working okay and coming across okay. I put the link into the YouTube chat, so feel free to use that to join the Zoom. If you join the Zoom, please make sure you mute your camera and your microphone on entry, and then only unmute if you want to speak. So I did make the stream yesterday, Thursday, so it just so happens I'm doing it on Friday at the same time. That wasn't actually planned. I was going to do it about 3, but then things happened and it's worked out perfect at the same time as usual, but it's just the Friday rather than the Thursday. Yeah, I just couldn't do it yesterday. I just didn't feel to move and do it, so but I do it today, so we are live on Friday. I think I used to do it on a Friday years ago. I used to do I think it was Ustream. I'm sure I did it on a Friday at like 8:30 or something. Yeah. What do you think? This is so funny. So it's the special replacement for yesterday. So the title of the talk is Intensity Does Not Mean the Loss of Freedom. Maybe I should have put intensity does not have to mean that. Because it could mean that. It could mean that, but it doesn't have to mean the loss of freedom. So the reason why I called it that was because before I got here to do the stream, I was out feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything, well, with a particular thing, and the intensity of it just the intensity. It wasn't a really bad negative meltdown or anything like that, but it was just a bit of a overwhelmed feeling from the preceding activity, and yeah, so just feeling a bit overwhelmed and dysregulated and a bit overwhelmed is the feeling, of probably the word, and just the intensity of that, the strength of that. I've been diagnosed as autistic, neurodivergent recently, and to now have that official sort of paper you can give to your doctor, and it makes things so much easier, but still difficult because people don't know what that is, and so it's quite overwhelming sometimes. But to go to my doctors today and be able to say, you know, the paper's there, you have the paper now, and to try and deal with that situation of being at doctor's surgery and deal with the miscommunications that happen and the ambiguity that happens, and it's very overwhelming. I can feel it now. very overwhelming. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to call this stream that is because we often feel intensity, or we often feel emotion removes us from freedom. It's the problem that the intensity of the emotion, of the experience, is somehow a hindrance. We've done something wrong, or we've lost something because of it. And this is the like impulse to do a stream. Like, this is the wonderful thing about this subject. It's the most beautifulest thing about this subject is that nothing can remove freedom. No matter what the experience, no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstance, no matter what the preference, no matter what whatever it is, it can't remove freedom. And I remember listening to speakers over the years, and like that was what really was like becoming more apparent here, was that there was this maybe suffering or a strong experience, and yet there was something that was so free in that suffering, that pain, that whatever it is, doesn't affect what I am, doesn't affect what this is. There can be freedom in the midst of extreme pain, excruciating pain, or a strong intensity of emotion. There can be this freedom. And because we're so identified with thinking, with our thoughts, with our ideas, with this idea of who we are, we don't recognize that there's something else beyond that is not in that emotion, in that feeling, in that suffering story. And what's so beautiful is that it doesn't omit it. It doesn't say, it doesn't like leave that out. It includes it. So we're so used to this idea, like we're going to get to a place of getting rid of my experience, getting rid of my emotion, getting rid of my situation. And lots of things are about that, about improving your situation, improving your experience. You know, that law of attraction even is about that. You get into a different place. But what's so beautiful, profoundly, amazingly beautiful about non-duality, and what I love about non-duality, is the inclusivity of it, the right here-ness of it. It's not about getting to a place where there's this, you know, nothing, or there's a place where there isn't that experience, emotion, situation. There's something beautiful and free here that isn't dependent upon those external factors being the way you want them, or imagine them, or prefer them. There's something really profound about what is happening. What is happening, no matter what it is, what is happening. There's something so profound about it. So profound. Magical, mysterious, and freeing about it. Because what's happening, it isn't personal. It isn't about someone. It isn't about personal doer or the volition of someone. What is happening is happening, and it's happening freely. Who orchestrates that? Who makes this happen? Who makes this happen? Who can claim the ownership of this? There clearly isn't anyone to attribute or orchestrating or attribute the doership to. This is clearly happening. There's a waking up, there's thoughts, there's feelings, there's activity, there's movement, there's ideas, there's emotions, there's behaviors, preferences appearing. It's all just happening. And we can say in language, oh, I'm going here, you're doing this, I think this, you want that. We can say that, and that's how we function as humans, as human animals, as a collective, to communicate with each other. And that's all well and good, and the problems come in that. But this is happening. This is happening. And that is the freedom. That is the freedom, that this doesn't belong to anyone. This is happening. This is happening. And that's not really what the seeking person wants to hear. The seeking person generally, usually wants to hear about what is wrong and how can I fix this? How can I get out of this? It feels uncomfortable. How can I escape this? And it wants some kind of concept, idea, path, practice, understanding. It wants something to get out of this and continue on its journey to a better place. And that's okay, that's okay. But this freedom that is being spoken about is right here and doesn't need any path or practice or concept or idea or dogma or religion or philosophy, or doesn't need anything. This freedom of what is doesn't need anything. But the problem is, if it's a problem, the problem, so-called problem is, oh, I've lost it now. The problem was, yeah, the so-called problem is the person, the mind, let's say mind, the mind, it can't use that, it can't bear it, it can't use it. It may have a grasping or understanding of that, but it can't use it. And that's the problem of the mind. The mind set up to problem solve, to fix, to plan out the journey, to sort stuff out. And that's a beautiful tool aspect that we have as the mind. But what's being spoken about here in this awakening in non-duality is something that is free beyond that human structure. There's something that is free, that is all there is. This is free. And this mental activity is appearing, and it has a use and a practical purpose and a practical use, but it's not going to solve or deal with this sense of dissatisfaction that humans have, this sense of suffering that humans have. The mind isn't going to not be what it is. The mind's the mind. The mind's the mind. So what's being spoken about here then is beyond that, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect. Beyond the intellect. So the intellect, you could say, is one of our tools. So if you have a very high intellect, if you maybe are good at learning things, retaining information, acquiring degrees, all that sort of stuff, if you're quite intellectual and smart, you can obviously use that to better your situation, better your social status, acquire maybe more things, better things. It's useful. So you can have an advantage in a way through that. And that's fair enough. But this that is being spoken about, oh, sorry. My throat got tickly then. What's being spoken about is something that isn't like going to give you you can't use it as a tool to get more, be better, have more than. Which means this is the birthright of everything. It's total equality, it's total, excuse me. What I'm trying to say is it's equal. You can't use it, you can't have more than someone else or less than someone else. It's not usable like that. It's not something you can own as a human being. What's being spoken about is free. It's free. It's everything's birthright, meaning everything is this. Everything is this empty freedom, full empty freedom. And suffering comes when you believe you are separate from all, when you believe you are carved out as something separate from everything else. And then there's attempting to get back to that wholeness. But the idea that you are separate in the first place is not true. This is the dream, this is the illusion that you are separate in the first place, that you are something individual and cut off from everything else. And yet, as a human, we have that appearance of, which is fucking amazing, that there's the appearance of separate from everything. So there's this tree here, and then this tree here, and this body here, and the wall here, and the stairs here, and the bottle and everything. So the appearance is of separateness. And what we have as the human is this narrative and this idea of I in the body, I am someone separate, ending around here, as the body is, separate from the wall, the tree. And it feels like I am separate in here. I am moving through the separate world, influencing it and changing it and taking from it and giving to it. And that's the appearance. We can pretend, we can speak as if, we do speak as if, we do act as if, but it's not true. It's not true. I was thinking of that. Could society, how would it look if there wasn't that? If there was a collapsing of that and the society was built around that not being true? If society was built around this acknowledgement of there's no one, this acknowledgement of wholeness, of non-separation. It's funny. There'd be problems still, normal communication problems, and yeah, there'll still be strife and problems, but it wouldn't be as serious, I can imagine, like it would be a lot of love, a lot of ease and flow and beauty, but nonetheless, like this is it, the way it is. And it's wonderful that this can be communicated, this can be expressed and shared on the internet and shared on YouTube and talked about and resonated with. How beautiful, how wonderful. you can like hear this communication, resonate with it. That's just amazing, amazing. I'm hungry. So yes, feel free to speak in the chat box on Zoom, chat box. So yeah, the title is intensity. Intensity does not mean the loss of freedom, I think. That's, yeah, that's just so beautiful. That's just so beautiful. It's like permission to be free. It sounds bizarre, but it feels like we need permission, probably because of the conditioning, growing up and society conditioning, the permission to be free, the permission to be as you are, the permission for this to be as it is. Non-duality is the ultimate permission to be as you are, this to be as it is. Let me just pause it while I need to like a cough. I've been given this nasal spray, and it really did help. And then I reduced it down. I think obviously too soon, and I need to go back to the original amount. I'm not really into medication. I tend to always not have medication, but since having kids, I've become a bit more open to taking what I'm given to take. So I will resume my amount. Because it was helping. Usually I reach for Lemsip is my go-to, or I've been using albus oil, and Vicks. Vicks is my go-to. Vicks. But it wasn't enough. I had to go on this nasal spray, and it is helping. It's funny when you have kids, like you change your before you have them, you're like, no, I'm not doing that. And you have kids and you're like, oh, F it. It's like, oh no, easy life. Easy, just take it, do it. I was all herbs before. I'm still into herbs and health. I always try and use natural and alternative things, but then I've become a bit more free with like, you know, take the tablet, take the thing. But I do try to also look for the other options as well. So there's no questions on chat or no one's joined the Zoom. I mean, to me, this is like the most beautifulest thing. Like, intensity is allowed, everything's allowed. It's like, it's such permission. I just think it's so beautiful. So beautiful that this is it. This is everything, and it's okay. This is okay. What I feel, what I think, whatever it is, ... is okay. This is okay, the way it is, the way it's happening, the way it's appearing. My happiness, my freedom, my peace isn't found in what's appearing. Going away, you could say the opposite as well. It equally is true. My peace and happiness is found in what is appearing. So beautiful. It's right here. Whatever is. Hello, Roman. Hello, Kelly. Sometimes it is said that this is already the case, that this is how it is, but it doesn't feel that way here. Could you comment on something? Thank you. Yeah. It's a funny thing, because saying that this is the case, what's happening is what's happening, in a way can't be refuted. It is what's happening. So to say like that doesn't feel that way here, it's kind of bizarre, because how can it not be? So what's happening is what's happening. How can it not be that? So in you saying it doesn't feel that way here, what do you mean by that? I can only assume you mean it doesn't feel pleasant, or it doesn't feel like it's enough, or to point out that this is what is happening. It can't be argued. I don't get how it can be argued that it isn't what's happening. What you can argue maybe is this doesn't feel like freedom, or this doesn't feel like joy or happiness or enough. You haven't responded, so I'm just going to respond as if that's what you're saying. That okay, this is it. The hand is moving. There's a wall, the room, the camera, or the screen. This is what is, but it doesn't feel like happiness, or it doesn't feel like freedom. It doesn't feel like this is everything. So what I would say to that is, it doesn't feel like this is enough, or this is it, because I'll say maybe, I won't say, because maybe your mind is saying that there's something else better. Maybe your mind is saying that this isn't enough. There's something lacking or missing here. Like I'm wanting something else. What I'm wanting isn't here. So what I'm wanting isn't what's happening. I want something else. And you could maybe label that what it is you want. And then if that thing isn't here, could you label what it is that you want that isn't here? Maybe Roman. Why isn't this enough? Why isn't this? Why isn't what's happening? It. You have these ideas like, and they're not often even known. Maybe you don't know what it is. It doesn't feel right, but you're not sure what it is that's wrong or what you want. But whatever it is that you're looking for or projecting or thinking about needing, whatever that thing is, when you do, if you imagine acquiring that thing, so you have that thing, you believe that in having that thing, you can then, I can then relax. You can then feel peace. You can then feel enough, complete, present, whole. But it's not true. You will then be looking for something else. Maybe there'll be a brief moment of that sense of rest, completion, wholeness, but then that same energy, that seeking will then seek something else. It will then say, this isn't it, this isn't enough. And it'll project a new thing to be seeking for and believe wholeheartedly that next thing will be it. That next thing will give me that rest, that sense of completion. And on and on and on and on. You can even look back and see that in your own life. That job, that person, that experience, that whatever it is, object, that car, whatever it is, it's always the next thing. But what if it isn't about those things you're imagining? What if what you long for, that rest, that completion, is in the end of that looking for something else? So when you have that thing, there's this relaxing of that seeking, the stopping of that looking for. And then there's this ease, this peace, this sense of wholeness. So it isn't that thing that you project, it's actually that relaxing, that stopping of that wanting, looking, moving towards. And that is right here. That is always here. That cannot not be here. And that is the joy of non-duality. What's being pointed to is that this is it. What you project out for the next thing, the next future time, is actually isn't going to give it to you, isn't going to give you anything other than a glimpse of what's already here. This doesn't need anything. This is already full and complete. It already is everything. What you long for is here as what is happening. If what's happening is intensity, is pain, is emotion, is crazy thoughts, then that's what's happening. And yes, that feels the way it feels. And maybe there'll be a preference to get out of that or not have that. But even that, not having that, can only be here. It's never in time. It can only be here. That peace, that rest that you're looking for can only be here. That happiness can only be here. Freedom can only be here, and it can't be a thing. It can't be any particular thing. It can't look like happiness, because that will change to look like anger or upset or overwhelmed. That will change. The appearances change, the forms change. What doesn't change is here. Is here. What doesn't change can only be here. We're so caught up in what changes. We're so hypnotized by what changes. What doesn't change? What doesn't change? And yet all change appears. What is and isn't. Yeah. It's just this remembering, this going back to what you are, going back to what you are, what always is. Thank you, Roman. I'm saying your name right, Roman. I'm not sure how that downward thing changes the A sound. Roman. I'm not sure. Thank you very much. I'm a storyteller, I suppose. Your answer helped me a lot, I think. Yeah. Yeah. suppose being a storyteller, then do you mean literally a storyteller? I think that's your job, or do you mean like, so we're all in a way, I guess, storytellers, like that's what this is, big story. But it's as a job, I was thinking like maybe you have to have stories to tell a story. You have to have dramas and problems to tell a story. Watching this is what watching this thing on Netflix, and it's just full of dramas. They solve one thing, it's the next problem, then the next. It's constant. It's quite interesting how that to see it play out like that. But that's what a drama is. It's about this constant problem to get over, and the high of like solving it, and then oh no, nearly, and then a new thing happened, and that's just the way storytelling is, and it's exciting and it's enjoyable. That's the manifest world. It's story. And the seed grows into this, and then that's what this manifest experience is. And it's beautiful in a way. It's beautiful. It's movement. It's the other half of the coin. But to only know that movement, to only know story, and not to know the freedom from, not to know the other half, then you're in chaos. You're in, you could say, hell. In fact, I would say hell, not knowing the other half, not knowing, only knowing the words on the page, not knowing the page or the book beyond the words. Like that's hell. To not have that grounding, that stillness, that presence, that emptiness. I suppose just knowing the emptiness or the book without the words is also a form of hell. Yeah, it is. Yeah, that day it wasn't, but it is also hell. It's a different kind of hell. Like, yeah, a different kind of hell. But without feeling emotion, without joy, without being able to tell a story, to experience, not experience, is a form of hell as well. The opposite side. That's why non-duality is like so juicy and beautiful, so beautiful, so complete. Oh, I love it. I love it. Can't have one without the other. No more questions. Okay, so no more questions. Just sit for a few moments. This doesn't need to be something special. Just this. Just everything. Kind of make people be at peace when they have little money. Always money is still challenging for awake people. Not meaning to be rude, silent rainforest, but maybe you can rewatch the stream, because I've basically been speaking about exactly that. This isn't an avoidance of being human. This isn't a way out of being human and dealing with money or emotions or whatever. The person wants that. Wants a way out of this. Wants to keep working on a solution. Keep thinking. So you have money problems as a human, you deal with it. You do what you can to deal with it. What's available to you, you utilize. But that's the end of it. So you need to be a drawn out problem or story. Of course, to have money to be able to buy food is important. There's no denying of that. And the body will do what it can to survive and deal with that problem. Using the mind will do its job. But in terms of freedom, this is it. Freedom is here. It isn't a thing, no, it's all things. This is it. Thank you, Silent Rainforest. That was quite nice. I have to go now. I bought a vegan kebab. It's called Oomph. I went far and wide to get it. It was out in Tesco, so I had to go to this health shop, and they didn't have any, and then go to Sainsbury's and they had it. So I was like, yes, it's the best kebab you're ever gonna. Well, it's the best. It's nice. It's very nice. The best that I found. It's called Oomph. Oomph. It's a black bag, and it's got doner kebab. They do a spice one on another one. But yeah, you can't really get a good kebab, vegetarian kebab, but this is really nice. So I recommend it if you want a kebab. Sorry. Anyway. Yeah, lovely. Thank you for joining the stream. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, lots of love. Thank you.